All right, here we go. We are recording. This is a tutorial on how to edit the Waterdrop images in Lightroom with a brief introduction to Lightroom. We are currently experiencing the spinning wheel of death. There it goes. Get rid of that. And sign out. Okay, so cancel. Okay, step one is going to be to open up Lightroom. And so once you get into Lightroom, you need to get your images off your SD card into Lightroom. So that'll be step one. So to do that, we have a couple of tabs at the top here. You're going to start with the library. And this library is actually really cool. We'll be using this in our senior portrait project coming up in the very near future. So first we got to get the images off your SD card in there. So you're going to click right here. It says import. And it's going to look for devices. So we have EOS Digital. This is the one where we want to pull our images from. DCIM, so we'll pull all those images in there. We're going to make our thumbnails a little smaller. Let me just close this really fast. Let's see. No. It's not going to let me close it. Okay. Let's see. Nope. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually go through and pull in the image we want to edit. And we know that it's at the bottom. And there it is, 0062. And I'm going to click on it. And there's a little check mark up here. Let's see. Oop. Gotta go back to the top really fast. We want to click on this where it says all photos. Make sure you uncheck that. Otherwise, it'll import all of them. If you want to import all of them, you can. But what I suggest you guys do is go through and pull out any ones that you feel are good, that you would work for the project. And then, because sometimes you take a picture and it looks really good on the camera and you get it into post-production, you go, oh, it's blurry or something's off. So import any of the ones that you feel would work for the project. This is the one we're going to use for this one. So we click import, and it's going to pull the image in here into Lightroom. All right, so we have a couple of requirements for this project that we are going to do. So the first one was, if we pop over to Classroom here, be in a 4:6 aspect ratio. So we can do that in Lightroom. So over here we have a couple of tools. So we're going to pop over from the library to the develop module. So these are the two areas we're going to be working in today. Click on develop. And over here we have some tools. So these are like your Photoshop tools. So the first one is a crop. And then you come over here and you have where it says original, hit this drop down box, and you can choose the 2:3 or 4:6 option. And it will put it in that aspect ratio. Now, since the camera we're using is a crop censored camera, it already puts it in a 4:6 ratio, but we need to have what in this? What rule of composition?
Rule of thirds.
Rule of thirds. So we need to apply rule of thirds in post-production, and we talked about this when we took the image. So we are going to put that water drop right there on that axis, so we have it there. And if we want to cut out some of this stuff on the sides, we can as well. We can really bring it in. And let's put that drop right there at the crosshairs. And then we click enter. There we go. Now we have the water drop image, and we have a rule of thirds. So we're also looking for be well exposed. The water drop should be sharp and have no motion blur. So let's take a close look at that. By holding down the space bar, it'll zoom in for me. And over here you see it zoomed in. And I want to zoom in here. So what I'm looking for here is a sharp image. Just a hair of motion blur there. And then coming down there. And we want to see the reflection of the globe in there. So that's a decent reflection. So hit the space bar to zoom back out. This is a little bit light, so let's, like I said, well exposed, so we can actually adjust that in post-production. I always like to do the auto, just to kind of see what the computer can do, and then I just kind of piggyback off of that. So I'm going to click on auto, and it brightens up a lot. That's too much for me. I want to bring that down a little bit, so I can use these sliders here. I want to bring the exposure back down a little bit. That's better. So like I said, this is a raw image, so it's kind of flat. So essentially, it's like when you hit that auto button, it's almost like it's putting it through that Byrne interpolation logarithm that we talked about, but we have a lot more control. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to add some saturation. So right here we have our HSL. We go to saturation. I can add it specifically by color. So say I want to make those blues pop a little more. I can use these sliders and pull them over. That's too much blue. Whoop, come back. There we go. And maybe that orange in there. So just add a little bit, the reds. You definitely make it more just pop a little more. If you just want to do an overall saturation change, right there you have this one. You can just overall add saturation to the image. You can also make it black and white too. Okay, and then the next one we are going to do is, let's look at our requirements here. Be processed in Lightroom and include one preset. We'll get to our presets in just a minute. Your image must have a watermark on it. The keyboard shortcut for Lightroom to Photoshop is Command E, but you can also add your watermark in Lightroom. We'll go over that in just a moment. Your image must be in JPEG format, and your image should have the globe reflected in the Waterdrop. All right, so back here. Okay, so looking up on the board, it looks pretty good. The second thing you're gonna do is you're gonna add a preset. Now, you have all kinds of Lightroom presets that are added in here. You can buy presets or create your own. We'll go over that in tutorials, like I said, later on this week. But the thing to do is kind of hit these drop-down boxes, and as you put your cursor over the preset, it'll show you a preview up here of what it would look like with that preset. You get to decide what preset you want. You can choose any of the ones that are on the computer that you have. Let's see here. That's kind of cool. So choose a preset. Like I said, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. What does the split tone look like? I'm gonna go with the cream tone. It makes it a little bit dark, so I'm just gonna go lighten that up just a little bit up here with the exposure slider, so we can see a little more what's going on. There we go. That looks pretty cool. All right, so there we have essentially our final product. The last thing you have to do is add your watermark. Now, there's two ways to do this. I'm gonna show you both, okay? You have to have your PNG of your name in order to do this in Lightroom, which you should have on your thumb drive, right? So in order to do that, you would simply right-click on the image you want to export, and it's going to bring up these options, and one of those is export image, and then you get the export dialog box. And you have all kinds of options going on here, but we'll keep it pretty simple. So you can put it into a subfolder or a folder. So for this one, you want to hit choose and then put it onto where? Thumb drive, right? Put onto your thumb drive. You can even put into a subfolder on your thumb drive easily just by clicking this box and giving it a name. So you could put Waterdrop if you wanted to, or you can just put it right onto your and then you can also give it a custom name. So you can click this box here, and then you can give it a name. So the format for this class is the project, so Waterdrop, the date, 12/4/2017, and your initials. You can even choose a sequence number if you'd like. So when you export it out, it'll put that as the name of the file, which will help you locate things later on. Okay. Scrolling down, we have some options down here. One of those is to add a watermark. So if this box is unchecked, it will not add a watermark. If it is, it will. And then if you click this drop-down box, you have an option to edit watermarks. Okay. So if you have your PNG on your computer, I'm not sure if I have mine, but let's take a look here. I believe I do. Should be in downloads. Let's see. Let's just put in watermark. Nothing. Okay. I cleaned out a lot of the stuff off the computer. But if you had your watermark, you just simply add the PNG. And then you would use the opacity, the proportion to make it bigger or smaller. So for now, we're just going to use the default one in there, the text one. So you can even type it in here. So copyright Jim Byrne. Let's see here, text options. Let me choose it. Oh, there we go. You can add a graphic or you can do text. So we'll do text. So we'll do that one, and you can see right there in the lower left-hand corner, there it is. You can choose different fonts, location. You can center it up, left, right, whatever. You choose the color of it. We'll just do white since this is a lot of dark stuff going on here. Shadows, the opacity, and then you can make it bigger or smaller. So I'll leave it up to you, the size of it. So if we want to be able to see the whole thing, you can do it just to fit, or fill, but we'll just do proportional for now. And me, I like things just a little bit more discreet. So you can move it horizontally up and down, left and right. So left and right, and then vertically up and down. You kind of play with a little bit about the positioning of it. Now, since we're printing these, you want to give yourself a little bit of bleed room. Bleed room is the amount of space on the sides. So when we go to print your picture, your watermark won't be cut off, because whenever they print these, there's always a little bit of a margin in there. So give yourself a little space on the edges, okay? So it'll print the whole thing. You can also choose the anchor point. You can move it anywhere on the image as well. So place it in a spot that is appropriate. Once you've done that, click Save. I'm going to title this Mr. Byrne Watermark Text, and then click Create. All right, so once you have that, you then are going to hit Export, and I'm going to export mine out to the desktop so we can take a look at it, and then export. Exporting one file. Let's go take a look at it really fast. Man, I got a lot of stuff open. It should be on our desktop. I don't see it. There it is. All right, so I put it in a folder. And there's our final product. Okay, so if you don't want to add the watermark in Lightroom, you can add it in Photoshop. So the way we do that is really simple. So once you have your final product, you're happy with it, all you have to do is hit a keyboard command. So it's command or control depending if you're on a PC or a Mac. So we have both those in the room, so choose whichever appropriate. So this one, it's a Mac, so command E is an echo. And then it's going to pop up a dialog box here asking how you want to render it. Nope, there it is. So now it's in Photoshop. See, we're in Photoshop now, and there it is. You then can add with a paintbrush, you can find your watermark, which most of you probably already have saved in there. Let's see. For some reason, it's not saving my things. But then you would watermark it with your watermark. And then you just file, save as, export it out. And then you'll turn that into Google Classroom. Any questions?